Hello everyone, this is Carolyn McGee here with Angelic Guidance for Daily Living and my co-host Pat Rainville. Again, to connect in with our angels, the universal angels for all of us, and to give you a little bit of guidance. But before we get started, I want everybody to just take a deep breath. Actually, let's do 3 deep breaths. How's that sound?
Sounds like good.
3's a magic number. So in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more time in and out. And last time in. And breath work is so incredibly important to help us consolidate our energy. When we are coming together for our time, we're pooling our energy. We're bringing in the angels. We're bringing in our guides. We're bringing in all of our collective energy to help amplify it so that we can all benefit from that and make good decisions, which is our topic for today.
Excellent.
Yes, it's
that
always a
time.
great one, especially, I mean, here we are in April. It is New England, so we've already had snow.
Plenty of it, yeah.
Plenty of snow. But you can also see, the bulbs coming up. So that it is a time of change. It's a time of transition. And how can the angels help you with that transition? How can they allow it to be a little bit smoother when you've got those crazy changes? Because, when it snowed, in the morning it was nice, and in the afternoon it was snowing. It's really crazy, and that's kind of the energy right now too. We've got Mercury retrograde, so there's some really strong, powerful energies to work through, and that breath work in the beginning is one of the ways that you can help yourself stay grounded and manage the change a little bit. What other tips do you have for people, Pat?
That I agree with what you're talking about with the breathing, because when you're going through times of change, it brings up a lot of tension, in the body, and you can be operating kind of in fear mode, or and be more really in your head.
Absolutely.
And so taking that moment to just stop and take a deep breath is huge. I think I usually go to my Archangel deck. I call upon whatever, if there's a lot going on. And now with Mercury retrograde, there's definitely, which I think it goes out of retrograde at the end of this week on the 14th. And, but it can bring up a lot of intensity. And so, I think I just go to, and I think one of the archangels I go to is Jeremiah, because he's an angel of transition. He helps us in a variety of ways that way. But I know that I'm usually asking them for focus, to keep help me to keep priorities during that time.
That's something that can be really challenging when there is a lot of change going on. It's like, what is the next right step, and how do we understand that?
Yeah.
So reaching out to whichever angel, I typically go to Michael because he clears away a lot for me. So doing that so that there's this release of energy, and it's almost like you can then see the path in front of you.
Yeah.
It's like the forest and the trees. So when I call on Michael, it's almost as if there's a path that opens up that I can clearly see this is the direction I need to be heading down.
Yeah, he's always like the best go-to archangel, generically kind of for everything.
Absolutely.
And he's the one most people I find are familiar with.
Well, there's Saint Michael, Archangel Michael, the same energy, but people experience it a little bit differently. So sometimes it's easier for people to reach out to that.
Yeah, but he himself, I think, is, like an angel or an agent of change. He's an angel who will motivate you to make changes in your life at a time, when it's kind of really necessary. You
may feel a little bit of a push.
Yeah.
I do. 'Cause he's not subtle. He's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So.
Or a lot of times I find with him it comes up as a very motivational inspiration.
Yeah.
You feel inspired to all right, I really need to make this change. And I know, one of the ones that I made more recently was getting back to the gym a lot more. But I feel that there's more of a, because my day job is so sedentary, but there's more of a commitment there.
Mm-hmm.
And I find I call on him frequently, because he's so motivational. I mean, if you're ever in one of those places where you don't feel like making the change, you're tired, you're kind of listless, I call on him to give me that kick, like that kick butt kind of energy.
Well, he does have, it's like a power infusion.
Yeah. You can all of a sudden feel like the Energizer Bunny.
So don't do it late at night.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, he's a good one. He's a really good one to call on for times of change. But I guess it would depend on the type of change that's occurring as well, because sometimes there are times of change when you really do just need comfort and rest. Maybe you've been working too hard, spread yourself out too thin, or you've just gone through something really emotionally difficult. If you've lost a loved one, then for me, I think I would, that would be a comfort angel that I would go to, like Azrael, or I'd be, a lot of times I just think it's easiest to express to them, angels, I'm having a really difficult time right now with whatever's going on. Can you please help me? And again, what's that right next step? What would be the best for me to do?
Right. And a lot of times, too, I will just ask for the angel of comfort, the angel of, getting things done, and wait to see who comes in. Because sometimes, at least for me, they mix and match their energy. I've been really surprised sometimes at the angels that have come through to support me in something that it's not their typical energetic lead. And it's been fun. It's been really fun. I like surprises.
Yeah. It's always interesting to see how it turns out,
Yeah,
or
it
how you
is.
get an answer to what you've asked for help with.
Yes.
I've had them literally change my schedule when I've asked for help, and I'm like, oh, thank you for that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I had a plan to go on a trip in June, and I was starting to, really evaluate my finances and take a look at things, and then I had another opportunity for something to come up in June, which would have been right before I was going to go on this trip, and all of a sudden, the other trip got canceled.
Wow.
So, I know, okay, I'm kind of sad because I wanted to go on it, but on the other hand, it alleviated all of these other conflicts that were going on with me. So it really felt like it was divinely guided, and I'm grateful.
But you had mentioned earlier that there's just a lot of change going on in the world right now. And yes, on a much larger scale, on a worldwide, the earth itself is changing. The politics are changing. And people are really, especially in terms of like women's movements, they're really kind of stepping up and speaking up so that change gets created, because, they're no longer willing to put up with situations that are inappropriate or, not right. So, that's in many ways a positive change, but it brings with it a lot of, tension, uprising, difficulties and conflict and stuff like that. So I guess in terms of when I think of things on a worldwide scale, I call on Michael for that too, because Michael and Michael actually has a team of angels that he works with. They call them the Mercy Angels. And so I send him out,
With a specific intention,
yeah,
right?
yeah, for world energies in general to help us, kind of navigate this time. And especially since so much has come up with, the school shootings and things like that. Oh, I think I send him out every day to my children.
Always protecting.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. His energy is so protective, and so he's like a catalyst, but at the same time, his energy is so protective. I call upon him every time I get into my car. I send him out with my kids, and he can even. And I don't know if you've worked with him this way, but if you have to go into a situation where you anticipate there being some conflict, so like a difficult conversation that you might have to have with somebody. He's really great to call upon to go in ahead of time to clear the energy.
Clear the energy out, right, so that you're starting at a nice, smooth space.
Exactly. And so whatever, conversation or communication needs to take place can do so without a lot of, I don't know, excess emotion, I guess, if you would say.
Exactly, and
Or
I'll
a lot
even
of
do that with
discomfort.
emails, if I'm writing something.
Yeah.
If there's a potential conflict, or perhaps it might be misunderstood, to ask Archangel Michael, and sometimes Gabriel too, because with the communication piece, to just clear away any negative energy, clear away any misconceptions, so that it's heard from the heart with the intention that it's intended, versus the ego getting in there and mixing things up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I know sometimes if I don't know how to make a change, I will call on them. And see what the best, and it's interesting because, as you know, I'm sure, sometimes the inspiration or the intuition that you get doesn't necessarily seem like, I was asking about this. Why are you telling me to do, this?
There sometimes is not a lot of logic involved in this.
Yeah, and you don't always but when you follow through, you realize that it was important for, or a right thing to do.
Absolutely.
It was the right next step.
It is the right next step. And sometimes too, I've had, they'll, in order to get you to change something, they will do something that doesn't really make sense. I found myself not really listening. Listening isn't my strongest clairsent. The clairaudience is not my strongest. So I, about 2 weeks ago, got this song stuck in my head. And I'm like, okay, I have this message. What is it? I'm, trying to figure out what it is. And it just keeps going over and over and over, to the point where I'm starting to feel a little bit crazy. So as I was driving here today, I just said, okay, what's the real message? Because you're making me crazy. You're actually distracting me from getting things done with this song lyric going through my mind. And then I heard, you're not listening to us.
Oh, interesting.
We had to get your attention. So I'm like, okay, I'm listening. Can you please take the song away? And it's gone. That's the beautiful thing, is that I finally got the message. There was a change that I needed to make because I really wasn't listening. I was using my other clairsenses, but I wasn't listening. And now I'm listening again. And the song is gone, and I am so incredibly grateful.
That's a cute story. I like that. Actually, I have a short story I can share too about how the angels helped me through a big change. So when I was living in a particular apartment, I got, I pull from my decks, as I'm sure you do every day, every other day. And I kept getting this message, as it's in the Michael card deck, like, it's time to leave, time to go. And at the time, there was nothing like that was occurring to me. So I stopped and asked, like, okay, well, what do I need to leave from? What have you?
Yeah.
And so a little while, I asked, and I didn't get an immediate answer. So I just went on about my business. And a little while later, I was sitting out in my balcony, and all of a sudden, it just kind of like came to me like that download that I was going to need to move. I was going to need to leave where I was because my lease was going to be coming up for renewal, and they were going to raise the rent on me. It just came all as this big download. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And sure enough, very shortly after that, I got my lease renewal, and they were going to up the rent by like $300.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, yeah, no, I can't stay here. So, and I got additional messages from Michael that, through cards and such, that, the move forward fearlessly. It's okay. It's time to go. And,
That you're protected.
Yeah. So because my initial reaction was to say, politely tell them, no, thank you, I won't be staying here. But I didn't have any place to go to. So this was a big, moving is a big change.
That's a huge leap of faith.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and I had a lot of fear around that. And I did one of the things that I had learned from my teacher during Virtue in the Cards, which was, when you go to bed at night, I would ask Archangel Michael, Michael, I have a lot of fear around this. Can you help me to overcome my fear and just show me the next steps? And so, what would happen is when I would wake up, I wouldn't necessarily feel immediately different, but as I got up and, went about my day, I would start to get ideas. Ooh, bless you.
Thank you.
To, call somebody or look into something. And so I would follow through on those cues. And in the process of following through on those cues, which at the time, if you've ever been moving in this area or renting apartments, the tough part of that, I had pets, and a lot of private landlords don't like you to have pets. Understandably so. I know that there's reasons for that. But I did have pets, so I tended to stick in the communities, the apartment communities. Anyway, long story short, I didn't want to be in an apartment community anymore. What ended up happening was I got really specific about what I wanted. And I talked to different people, and I ended up finding exactly what I wanted, but I still had this fear, with this change, because, a lot of, when you move and you're working with the landlord, they want a first month's, last month's security deposit. That's a lot of money up front, which I did not have at that time. And so again, I went to bed, asked Archangel Michael, how am I gonna, how is this gonna work? And when I woke up in the morning, I had this very clear idea, to just ask, offer to pay him the first month's rent and ask him if I could pay the rest of it in increments and give him the increments that I would pay it in and when. And so I didn't know how he was going to take it, but I did offer him that, and he was cool with it, and he was cool with my pets, and the whole thing worked out. So, but it was a way of it was a tough transition, and I worked with the Archangel Michael the whole time. And he was right there. The whole thing worked out. Yeah. So you can work through.
You absolutely can work through it. And taking it kind of a step by step, that's one of the things that has really become clear to me in working with the angels is not worrying about step number 10. Really taking it a step at a time and knowing that if I'm following my guidance, that the next level, that the next thing we need to do is going to unfold. And it's going to unfold in a really easy, effortless way, very gracefully, I have found, as long as I do what my first step is. So just taking that trust, and even if it's not logical, going ahead and doing it. Yeah.
And I mean, and when we talk about guidance, a lot of times your guidance from them comes in the form of ideas or a feeling, to go someplace, call someone, talk to someone about, where you might need more information. Yep. So, when we talk about guidance, that's what we're talking about. And, I find sometimes if I'm trying too hard, if I'm in a fear-based place, then I can't quite get it. But if I relax, like meditation.
Yes.
Meditating, like what we're about to do here for the end of our show. It's coming to that time. That really does help a lot, finding that quiet space.
Yes, yeah, it definitely does. I have one quick story I want to tell
absolutely.
Before we get into that. It's actually about this beautiful stone right here. In a meditation, it came to me that I had a green healing stone that I had worked with that I needed to find again. And so I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, I saw green stones at Marshall's. I'm like, okay. So I wouldn't think to go to Marshall's to look for a healing stone, but that's an example of guidance. So I went to Marshall's. I walked into the store and kept feeling like this pull. So there's another example of guidance, feeling like an energetic draw, going towards something. And I made my way back to the very back of the store and picked up this green stone that had been like super glued to a piece of wood or something. And I picked it up and I'm hoping this is not my stone because it had been damaged with the glue and everything. But it wasn't. I actually felt it kind of pushing me away. So okay, following guidance, this is not the right thing for me. And as I turned to leave, I saw this stone sitting down on the bottom shelf, kind of tucked away, as if it was waiting for me. And the minute I picked it up, I could feel like an energetic connection, heart to heart, with the stone and me. And it's been part of my healing practice and part of my meditation practice now for almost 3 years. So following those guidance and listening and feeling and then seeing brought me like an energetic partner, a healing partner.
Yeah, and I never would have thought to go to, was it Marshall's?
It was Marshall's.
Who would have thought to go to Marshall's for a healing stone?
It's not logical. Remember,
I know,
we were
no,
talking
yeah.
about not logical.
Yeah.
But it's a very powerful tool for me, and it doesn't match anybody else. It's mine. But, the way I got there really had to open up my mind, because
Yeah.
like I said, Marshall's.
Yeah, exactly. I
All
agree.
right. So,
All right, well,
had to segue. Yes, let's get back
let's
into
help
that
everybody
meditation.
who's watching to tune in a little bit to their own.
To your own guidance, even if it sounds a little crazy.
Yeah. All right, so let's just take a couple of nice deep breaths. And it always starts with the breath. Quieting your mind, relaxing your body. Putting aside any cares or worries from the week or from your day. Letting your shoulders drop and letting your awareness drop down into your heart. And we'll call upon the Archangel Michael to be around everyone who's watching this right now. To be there and present with you if you choose, to help you through any life changes that you're going through, or to help you deal with the changes that are going on in the world. Archangel Michael, we ask that you cut any cords of fear that may be attached to us, that may be draining our energies in any way. Taking a nice deep breath. Michael, please lift and clear away any negative psychic debris, escorting away negative lower energies or entities, lifting the heavy energies that can be around, heavy and intense energies that can be around during deep times of change. And helping us open up to your guidance as to the next best steps to take on our path.
And as part of those next right steps, really having a deep foundational trust in the guidance that you receive, and also in your own intuition, in your own body's resonance with that guidance, with that information, in making it easy to release things that no longer serve us and to embrace the new energy, maybe a new direction, a new way of doing things, to feel peaceful along the path with that.
Taking a nice deep breath again. Michael will stay with you for as long as you need or would like him to. He's a really wonderful angel to work on.
Yeah, it is.
And to finish up and wrap up our show, should we pull some cards?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I got my Archangel deck here. Let's see who's coming out for us for this coming month, April into May. Ooh. Ah.
And that's why mine end up upside down.
Oh, I think that one wants to come out. Let's see.
All right. Well, the first
peace.
card that I came up with is St. Nicholas,
Oh,
generosity. And what I love is the intensity, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but there's an intensity in his eyes of focus and looking forward and seeing what is coming, but also being grateful. So the way we can best approach change is to keep our eyes open, look forward, but also be grateful for everything that we have.
and be generous. Give away your stuff. It's spring cleaning time.
Yes. Lighten that load, right?
Oh, mine came out as peace, the message of peace, patience, be patient with the process, whatever change you're going through. And angel therapy, remember to ask the angels for help going forward.
Yes.
Ooh,
Miracle. And what really resonates with me here is the way that Christ consciousness is holding the world.
yes.
And, it's Christ consciousness. It's not necessarily the religious version. It's that belief that we are all one, that that love is really the universal energy, and that we can all come together, and that we're all safe. We are all held. We're all held together.
Ooh, nice messages to wrap
Yes,
up with.
very beautiful messages.
All right, well,
I
think we're ready to wrap up for today. And thank you so much for being with us during this time. And
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and we look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you again next month.
happy spring.
Yes, yay.